Howdy, y'all. Welcome once again to the Marty Smith podcast here at Outsider. Martin's in the house. The great Wesley Blankenship is in the house. Hello, sir.
I don't know if I've earned the great in front of my name.
You're great. I'm the host of this damn show. If I say you're great, you're great. That's the way this thing works.
Within the context of the Marty Smith podcast. I'm doing well, man.
Is that a Waffle House hat?
Oh, yeah.
Man, that's a good-looking hat, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So is it... explain it to me. Is it gray or camo? What's going on there?
It is
black?
Camo.
Camo, real tree camo.
Yeah.
And it's got the Waffle House logo on it.
Right. And I don't know if Waffle House has fully embraced it yet, but I think the camo should be a part of their official colors.
Oh, I do too. I mean, anything. You give me camo in any capacity and I'm all in. Did you know that I have a pair of camouflage Jordans?
Which number? Which shoes are they?
They are camo 3s.
That's pretty sick, man.
They are awesome. And actually, I also have a pair of Jordans that Jack Daniels sent me, and they are 4s. They are Air Jordan 4s that are custom made by. It's a collaboration between Jack Daniels, Jordan, and this designer. And they are the most beautiful J's ever. They're this real deep forest green and this kind of gray slate kind of color. And they are outrageous. I put it on my Instagram a few years ago.
Yeah, we'll have to
I got them.
Share a photo.
You know what I learned? Speaking of Waffle House, I learned that Waffle House actually gives out award trophies to country music artists, or artists, I guess, period, who are played the most on the Waffle House jukebox. Did you know this?
I did not, man. That's incredible.
I learned it watching Chris Stapleton on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes did a huge profile last Sunday of Chris Stapleton, and they talked about his path, and they talked about his past, and they talked about
And that was
Morgan.
Your biggest takeaway, was the Jukey Awards.
Look, man, he's a buddy of mine. I know a lot about him already, but I did not know that. I forget what I'm embarrassed that I forget what they're called. Travis is behind the board today. Travis, look up what those things are called and send me a text, and we'll update that here shortly on the show. But I thought that was so cool. He had Chris had 4 of those awards. It's like a waffle iron, a golden waffle iron is the trophy.
Of course.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Of course it is. So, how did you get camo Jordans? Did they?
They make them. I mean, the
like
Toonie Award. Travis has texted me and told me that it is the Toonie Award. Wes.
The Toonies.
Yes, the Toonies. Back to the Jays. So they make all kinds of different, unique colorways. Is the word that sneakerhead people use, and they have this pair of 3s that has all these different camos on it. And I have them. They're still in the bottom. I've never put them on my feet. They're upstairs.
I think I've spoken with you about this before, but in a different setting. What is your favorite Jordan edition?
That's really hard. I just got two new pairs. I got a pair of patent leather bred ones, which are absolutely outrageous. They're amazing shoes, and you know what? I didn't wear them to the national championship because they're Georgia colors. And I knew that I'd have to hear about it from the whole world if I had those shoes on my feet on the Marty and McGee set at the national championship. Oh, we see who you're cheering for. Yeah. Ben Watson actually had them on. Benjamin Watson had those shoes on at the national championship. And then I also got...
Dude, we got to have... Sorry to interrupt.
Nope,
we got to have him on the show, man.
I'm going to tell you something about him. You talk about lights in the world. Benjamin Watson is a light in the world, and his television future is limitless.
He is a natural.
He's a natural in every way. I mean, you think about his pedigree and experience as a football player, first of all. Okay, tremendous player at the University of Georgia, tremendous player for the New England Patriots in the NFL. And a phenomenal guy. You meet people in this life, and you are taken by their grace. my gracious, am I taken by his grace. He just carries it, man. And I admire him, and I will say the same thing for another colleague of mine, Roman Harper. I'm so taken by Roman's grace for somebody with Roman's resume. Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler. He did everything you could do. He is the most thoughtful, in the moment, present person you could imagine. I mean, I'm not going to go down my whole list of colleagues here. Of course, Tim Tebow is one of them too. And they just have a presence, man. I would love to get Benjamin on here, though. You would enjoy that too, I'm sure.
Oh, I mean, nothing to do with the Georgia angle. Just watching him in the NFL was incredibly cool to see a career like that. Tom Brady has all the acclaim of finding the holy grail of youth, but Watson just never seemed to age. Every single year, doing fantasy drafts, like, oh, Ben's still in the league.
There he is. Pick him up.
And I can't help but immediately think of that play where he chases down Champ Bailey.
Yep.
However long it was. I mean, just a freakish NFL career as well. It's awesome.
You're motoring if you're running Champ down.
Yeah.
I mean,
no doubt.
Motoring. I had an amazing week last week, especially towards the end of the week, where I got to spend a lot of time with someone that I admire, someone who's had tremendous influence on my life and my path as a man, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Jr. got inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame on Friday night, and it was such a moving time for all of his friends and family. Because I was just talking about Benjamin's grace and the impact and the influence that Roman has on people and his presence. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to me is, if not the most influential, certainly one of the 2 or 3 most influential people in the history of NASCAR racing. When you look at the overall scope of his career, you're talking about a guy who came in with a famous last name. His father was Elvis and John Wayne combined into one mythical figure. His last name came with so much pressure. It came with so much expectation. It came with, well, you're not your daddy. Well, he never tried to be his dad. And then everybody wondered if he'd ever even be successful because he only won 4 late model races ever. Jumps into a Busch car, wins back-to-back championships in the AC Delco car, gets pumped up to Cup. Everybody wondered, I don't know about this. Is he even ready? Wins, I think, in his 12th start at Texas Motor Speedway. Then he wins the All-Star race on my wedding day, and he's off and running. And, of course, very shortly thereafter, his father dies in NASCAR's darkest hour at Daytona International Speedway in Turn 4 of the Daytona 500 on February 18th, 2001. And nobody knew how to react to that. Nobody knew how to conduct themselves in the aftermath of that. Every single person in every boardroom, every single person in every garage stall, every single heart that cared about NASCAR racing looked directly at one man of whether or not we should forge on. And Dale Jr. raced. So we all raced. And it saved the sport. And he became an icon in a way I don't think anybody ever imagined. He was in Jay-Z and Beyonce videos. He was in Rolling Stone. He did things that nobody before or since ever did. And he was this raging current that burst the divide between NASCAR and mainstream culture. And I'm not even talking about what happened on the racetrack yet. He won the Daytona 500 twice. He's a 2-time Busch Series champion. He had a phenomenal career. And then the courage that it took when he dinged his head. The courage that it took to step out of the race car and make sure that he cared for himself was revolutionary. because it empowered other people to do the same.
Well, when you think about that step, look, I'm not Dale Earnhardt Jr., but I had to stop playing high school football because I had too many concussions and concussive migraines. And the time that he's thinking about doing this stuff, we don't have the research necessarily that we do today to know how big of a toll that can take. And you layer on top of that the racing mentality, which is resistant to caution, resistant to, in a lot of ways, taking it easy. You want to put your life on the line when you're a competitor at that level. So for him to make that step, I mean, it had to have been, he had to be going against the grain of everybody in his circle.
Well, so it's really a fascinating tale, and you should read the book that he did with our boy Ryan McGee, because it's an account by account, moment by moment Bible of everything that he went through. And I will tell you, I walked through a lot of that with him. There was a lot of days, man, when he was so down because he's like, I need to get out of bed. I just want to feel normal again. I don't give a damn about racing cars again. I don't care if I never see another race car again. I just want to be normal. I just want to be able to get up and go and do and be. And ultimately, his ultimate motivation was, I want to be standing there and I want my eyes to work. His eyes weren't working, man. His eyes weren't working.
You want those to work if you can help it.
And he wanted to be standing at the altar and watch Amy walk down that aisle and take her arm and be indomitable as he married his wife. And when you know the path that they walked through and the courage that it took to get to that moment, it was one of the most emotional moments of me and Laney's life, watching those two get married. So I tell you all of that to tell you how amazing this week was, to see how giddy he was. I was so proud of him because he entrenched himself in the moment. He lived every moment. He wasn't worried about what was coming next. He lived it. And man, was it beautiful. And we had one hell of a party on Saturday night, let me tell you, Jack.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Well, today I'm a little better. Yesterday, on Sunday, the day after the party, I was useless. I sat on the couch with the remote in my hand. I basically propped my arm on the dog and had the remote in my hand and watched football games and drank a lot of water.
Yeah.
A lot of hydration powder. Useless. But, man, we had a blast on Saturday night. His wife, Amy, is an angel. I mean, I could go on and on about her, too. The way that she held Dale up when he was going through that concussion thing. The way that she fell in love with this man who had walls built up all around him because of the last name, because of his dad dying too early, because when you're a guy like that, you don't know who's in it for what, ever. Do you like me for me, or do you like me for my money? Do you like me for me, or do you like me for my legacy? Do you like me for me, or do you like me for my last name? And she methodically tore this wall down, and then tore this wall down, and then tore that wall down, and then tore that wall down. And what emerged from that was a completely different person. And, I mean, I've talked about it. I wrote about it in my book. I wrote an entire chapter about the power of a woman and what she did for Dale. And she did a great job on that party. One of Dale's favorite artists is Dwight Yoakam. And Amy managed to keep it a secret from Dale until Dwight Yoakam walked out on that stage. They handed Junior an envelope, and he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, Dwight Yoakam!" Like he lost his mind. And we had a daggum hoedown. And it was just a beautiful thing to witness, and I'm so proud of him and so thrilled for him. And he's just getting started. I mean, his impact, the power of his words is so dramatic. And what he is as a broadcaster for NASCAR racing is invaluable because those words are so powerful.
You've seen a lot of former athletes make the transition to broadcast and media. We talked about Roman and Benjamin a few moments ago.
Yep.
But what did it take for Junior to have the career he does? Because he's not only doing, the broadcasting side, but his podcast is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
How much of it is just him being who he always has been, and how much, do you think he had to improve at that craft?
He has had to improve, and I'll tell you, he's leaned on some people. He wants feedback. He yearns for feedback. Now, one thing about Dale, and he just said this to me on SportsCenter on Friday, he is someone who yearns for affirmation. He's always wanted affirmation, and I can relate because I'm the same way. I thrive off of somebody telling me, hey, man, you did a good job. That infuses me with self-confidence, and it's the same way for him. And he wants honest feedback. He wants constructive criticism because it's so important to him to be authentic and to be accurate. He wants to portray the race in the way that it's unfolding. And he has something that cannot be taught, and that is passion. His passion is undeniable on those NASCAR broadcasts. And I told him, anytime I write him texts almost every Sunday. I loved this. This was awesome. Keep doing it. Because the sport needs it. And he's doing a great job. I'll tell you, Wes, one reason that he's so great on TV is because of that podcast. One reason that his Hall of Fame speech was so badass was that podcast. Because it's allowed him to learn how to share of himself with great vulnerability and something that resembles brevity. Like I'm obviously on one right now where there is no brevity. It's a podcast. We don't have to worry about that.
Brevity's left the room.
Brevity took a freight train out of here. But as you can tell, I'm also indescribably proud of him and thrilled for him. And, John Madden, when Madden died here, when I was at the Orange Bowl, I started thinking about like his influence and the massive tentacles. He touched every single corner of NFL football. All of them. And had a generational impact because of that. That's what Dale's doing. And that's going to continue for years and years, and as long as Dale wants to do it. And so congratulations to him. I'm real proud of him, and I think it's awesome, man. He's Junior.
Where does that moment where you're sharing a Bud Heavy with him rank in your broadcasting career?
Very high.
Dude, because I'll tell you, before you and I even really knew each other, that moment to me was so badass. Like, to see that moment, you can't put words into it, I'm sure. But I don't know, man. It's powerful for me, too. I think it's awesome.
Spontaneous. That moment was spontaneous. For those of you guys listening who don't know what we're talking about, Dale Jr.'s last race as a full-time Cup driver was the 2017 season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. And he got out of his race car, and again, back to being in the moment after all he'd endured to get there. He had come out of the darkness of all that post-concussion aftermath, and he wanted to finish on his terms. That was what mattered the most to him. I'm not going to have some doctor tell me when I'm finished. Damn it, I'm going to finish on my terms. And he did that. And he got out of that 88 car, and he stood on pit road, and it was a mosh pit of people as far as you could see, and he just wanted to stay there. He wanted to stay around his race car with his crew there, and they brought in a bunch of coolers of beer, and they sat there and they drank cold buds until they were hammered out of their minds and just laughed and loved and reminisced and fellowshipped. And I had to run over there right after the race and interview him for SportsCenter. And I made a personal decision. I just said, you know what? I'm going to make this mine, too. This moment is Dale's moment. I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to ask him questions that I care about as a person. And I did that. And the interview was amazing. I have friends. I have fancy pants executive friends who've actually used that interview to teach their sales forces how to get a whole lot out of a little. If you go back and watch it, I don't say but like 20 words in 10 minutes. I've said 20 words in the last 10 seconds, Wes. And so, but at the end of it, was very kind to me and said, well, what are we going to do now? I said, we're going to drink one of them damn beers. Throw me one of them beers. And I think it was Adam Jordan, the guy that worked on the interior of Junior's car, goes, here. But Junior handed me one too. He goes, here, I got one for you. Take it. And I pounded that beer. I shotgunned the hell out of it because I just wanted that moment with my friend, my brother, this guy who's been so important in my life. And then where it really blew up was Van Pelt loved it and put it. It was like, this is the coolest thing I've seen this month. And so, anyway.
Yeah, let alone today.
Really cool moment. I wasn't expecting that to take that long, but it's all right. We have an amazing interview coming up with old cowboy. We love cowboys on this show, as y'all know. Jess Lockwood, who is a 2-time PBR bull riding world champion, took time with us and shared about that crazy life. Those guys are lunatics. They were, what are those extreme sports? They were extreme sports before there was such a thing.
Yeah.
You know, Ernest Hemingway said there's only 3 sports, right? You know what they are?
If it's Ernest Hemingway, it's probably fishing, drinking, and fishing.
It might have been Mark Twain. I forget. One of them famous authors said there's only 3 sports: bull riding, race car driving, and mountain climbing. That's it. So I enjoyed that. Jess and I have a mutual partnership with Pitballs Grills, and when I told those guys that I was interviewing Jess, they were pumped up. They were like, you're going to love him. He's hilarious. And I know this. Like, I love my relationship with that company. The family that owns it are wonderful people. It's their parent company is called Danson's, and the reason it's called Danson's is it's Dan and Sons.
Oh, okay.
And they have
so it's
several
not like
different.
The Pit Boss family. That's not their name.
No, it's not the Pit Boss family. It's the Thiessen family.
Okay.
Thiessen family. And they're awesome. I actually went out to Phoenix and spent a few days with them here recently, did a speech to their entire sales force, and really enjoyed my time with them. Jeff and Jordan are the sons, and Dan is the father, who's the patriarch of the family. It's an amazing family. They are driven by faith, which I love. And I love their spirit, and I'm grateful that they believe in me. I know Jess is really grateful that they believe in him. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that. Here is 2-time PBR world champion Jess Lockwood on the Marty Smith Podcast. Jess Lockwood is a 2-time PBR National World Galactic Universal Champion. It is a pleasure, young man, to get to spend a few minutes with you. Thank you. And as I said before we started rolling tape here, it takes a badass to look at cool in that hat. If I tried to put that hat on, or Travis tried to put that hat on, we just look like a couple assholes. So, you got to be a real cowboy to look at good in that hat, brother, and you are a real cowboy. All right, let's hop back into growing up on 12,000 acres in Montana. What's the day-to-day operation in that environment? How do y'all manage all that?
Golly, it's we're lucky enough that my grandpa's still alive, my dad's dad. My dad's brother lives on the place with us, so we've got plenty of help. But we wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and get to it, especially the wintertime right now. Part of me feels bad for leaving for the winter, but if I'm going to ride bulls professionally, I got to be down south to make travel work up in that Montana wintertime. But wintertime in Montana, we get up 6 o'clock and we don't get done feeding cows till probably around noon. And we don't even have that many head. We got 350 head of cows, but just the process of rolling out hay, rolling out straw. If you live on a ranch and you got cattle and land, you are working all day, every day.
And so every single day, y'all grab all that hay and you take it to whatever pasture the cattle are in, and you start to put it out so they can eat it. That's priority one.
Oh, yeah. From pretty much November on a, kind of a bad year to, golly, April. That's
April, yeah.
every single day.
So I grew up on a cattle farm too, but it was not a ranch. We have 500 acres in the southwest part of Virginia, and we had about 70 or 80 head of cattle. So I have some idea, but just thinking about the magnitude of all that land just blows my mind. So, like, when do you start working? Like, when if you're 8 years old, if your little 8-year-old Jess, which was about 3 or 4 years ago at this point, what's your role in this thing? Do you just ride around with Dad? Are you already getting out there and spreading hay yourself? Like, when do you start?
Shoot, when I was a little tiny baby, 1 year old, 2 years old, Dad wrapped me up in blankets, and away I went feeding in the mornings with him, around the place doing stuff. When I was, old enough to really comprehend instructions, he had me drive a tractor to the other during haying season, probably at 5, 6 years old. Just, he'd put it in gear and say, all right, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Just drive it and follow me. And
I've been there.
At that point in time, you don't really know the magnitude of what you're doing, but you're working. You're getting put to work as soon as possible around there.
I tell everybody, when I was growing up on our farm, my first job that I can remember when I was probably 4, 5, 6 years old is when we were throwing hay in the summer, and the baler would go around the field and bale all the square bales. It was my job to drag square bales into piles. Now, they weighed more than I do, but I would drag them as hard as I could into piles of 6 or 8 so that the high school boys who were throwing them on the trailer and taking them to the barn didn't have to go bale by bale. They could go pile by pile, which wound up being more time efficient. So that was my first gig, and then I got behind the wheel at 7 or 8 years old. My dad said the same thing. Don't touch anything, son. Just steer it.
Exactly. If you got it, you grow up knowing work. No choice. If you're a ranch kid, it's not like you can just say, I don't want to work today. that don't fly.
Daddy ain't hearing that.
Everything's got to be good. So,
Travis, what you got?
I'm from Ohio. I am nowhere near country or anything like that. How long do you think it would take you to get me up and running, be able to ride a horse, or just kind of cowboy for a minute without looking like a total jackass?
Like I said, you learn pretty quick, and especially when you're old enough to know stuff like right and wrong. Shoot, it wouldn't take, but you'd have it down in half a day.
Perfect. I think we need to do that. I'll go out there and we can see if we can turn me into a cowboy. Marty, you think that would work?
No. Jess, you're giving him entirely too much credit for his ability to be malleable enough to acclimate himself to anything that had to do with manual labor.
No, that's the new hired hand of the ranch right there.
So, all right, we of course, off the top, I mentioned Yellowstone. As someone who actually knows how this works, how much have you watched the show? What is your opinion of the show? And are you a fan?
I get kind of made fun of because I've really never even watched the show. I have my own place about 2 miles from the parents, and one of my best friends lives with me and one of my cousins, and they're big into it. So whatever it comes on Sunday, they'll sit down, watch it, and I'll catch a little bit here and there. But I don't know enough about it to make an honest statement about it.
Anybody that ever worked on your parents' land branded?
No, we've never had any hired hands.
No cons?
Unfortunately, so we haven't had the chance to brand anyone. But, hey, the new hired hand there might have to get branded.
We need to get a Jess Lockwood, like a Lockwood Ranch logo. I'll be the first one to rock the Lockwood brand.
Dude.
Gee, we'll just brand you the same as the cattle. Just fit right in with the whole group.
That's it. All right, Travis, now you're on the hook for it. So when did the desire to ride bulls enter your sphere?
I wasn't even old enough to really remember. My parents said at about 2 years old when, because I went to my first rodeo when I was a week old. They wrapped me up in blankets, and my dad rode saddle bronc horses in the PRCA, and my mom ran barrels in the association. So from word go, I was at rodeos until they both retired. And for some reason, God knows why, I took a liking to them big, scary bucking bulls at about 2 years old. And ever since then, that was, I didn't want to do nothing else. There wasn't a thought in my mind that, maybe I want to try this event or want to try that event. It was bull riding from that age and nothing else.
So what's the timeline of how you actually get to bulls?
My dad he was, looking back, he was great. But the time when I was little, I was so aggravated with him because he took me through the right stepping stones and held me back when he knew I wasn't ready for, the next step. It starts out, sheep, and then you move up to calves, then kind of roping steers. Then from there, you kind of move up to maybe some small bulls or just bigger roping steers. And, my dad didn't let me on a actual bucking bull, bred bucking bull, till I was an 8th grader. And, even then, if they were too big, and we were at a high school rodeo, and they're too big, I'm entered, paid entry fees. He's like, nope, you're not getting on. And at that point in time, I was so angry. Like, what the hell? Like, we're here, got my stuff on. I just paid money to do this shit, and you ain't going to let me on? But, looking back, thank God he did, because there's kids, you see them back in the day, you see them at this point in time right now that their parents are letting them do that. And by the time they turn 18 and it's time to go pro, they're beaten up and broken, and their body just don't work. So my dad held me back, but I thank God that he did, because, I couldn't have done what I've done in my career so far, I don't think, if it wasn't for that.
When you finally got there, when Daddy finally let go of the reins and said, all right, Jess, you're ready, and you're in that chute, how do you feel? What is the emotion?
My first big bull, I was kind of like, oh shit, this is real. It ain't just a thought no more. But I loved it, wanted to do it. It wasn't, a scared thing. It was more just like that nervous, anxious feeling that you get. Like, I'm ready to do this and I'm pumped up. But there was a little extra jitters that first one.
There's not a whole lot. That's about the best description that I possibly could have gotten was, oh, shit. That's it right there.
Yeah.
That's bull riding. So
Shit got real.
Yes, it did. That's exactly right. And you, honestly, it seems almost like a destiny thing for you. You came from a family that this was their passion. You came from a dad who was a champion in his own right. Your mom was a great barrel racer, I think a champion in her own right. And so this is born into you and your brother. When did you realize that it was a destiny moment for you guys?
It's funny. So my agent, he was the PBR announcer for 20 years. And when I won my first world title, he announced it, and I have it recorded on my phone because I'll watch it sometimes, and it just gives me chills. And he was announcing me to go in the short round of the PBR finals, and he said that some people are born for this, and I truly believe that. Like, I think God puts people on earth to do certain things, and I fully believe that I was put on this earth to do nothing but be great at riding bulls. If I would have tried to be a rope saddle bronc rider, it wouldn't have worked out. But my purpose was to ride bulls. And when I was a freshman in high school, and I was, Dad was letting me on big bulls at that point and was riding really good. And I won our state finals my freshman year, and I ended up 3rd in the high school national finals that year. And I really kind of thought at that point, I think I could maybe make a living doing this.
What's a man have to have inside him to be great at riding bulls?
You just got to want it. I think it's a desire. You can't, because you're going to get hurt. It's inevitable with bull riding. You can't, to me, get hurt and then you have that thought, shit, do I want to do this again? Is this something that's worth doing? I could die. We don't even think about that stuff. You see guys come inches from death every single time they go when they walk out of there, just because it is a game of inches. You've almost just really, you've got to be a little dumb, as crazy as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You finished your high school career online. What's that discussion like with your parents? Like, hey, I want to do this bull riding thing, like, serious, and I'm going to do high school online. Like, what's that discussion like?
It was pretty easy. They knew what was coming when, seeing me grow up. And once I was a teen and was riding bulls, that had been in PBRs, I was staying on some of those, once I got closer to 18. And they knew what my plan was, and they were all for it. They were so supportive, so great. Had the discussion. They're like, absolutely. That's what you're going to do. There's no better way to do it. Just finish that schoolwork and ride bulls and stay safe doing it.
Are you like a rock star in high school? If you're riding bulls out in Montana in high school, I have to assume that that's like being a star football player down in the South. Is that like you're the cool kid?
Oh no, shoot! I'm from such a small town that it wouldn't matter if I had won the world when I was still in high school. They would have just treated me the same, and that's what I love, is just that hometown hospitality and just the support you get from them, and they treat you normal. You're not a rock star to them. You're just the kid they seen grow up, and my friends I grew up with.
Let's go back to getting hurt. So I'm so intrigued by the psychology of it. There's certain sports. I covered auto racing forever, and those guys know when they strap into 3,500 pounds and sail it off into turn one, they might not come out of two. What is the psychology for the bull rider that, yeah, I know it, but I'm not going to put myself in a position to consider that the potential is that this, however, how big are those things? 8,000 pounds? I don't even know. How big are they?
No, shoot. Right? On average, I'd say they're probably about 1,600, 1,700.
Okay, 2,000 pounds. All right, so you got a 2,000-pound beast who his entire reason for being is to put you in a bad way. And your entire reason for being is to tame him. What's the relationship between you and the bull when you know he wants to kill you?
Thank goodness the bull breeding's gotten a little better, because most of the time all these top athlete bulls you see that they just want to buck you off, do their job, and get out. There's honestly not too many mean ones around. If you're going to sit and lay in front of them, they might run you over. But with the caliber of bullfighters we have as well, you're safe there. You just got to stay off their head and stay on top of them, not underneath them.
You said something there that really intrigues me. Over the years in the evolution of the sport, have they begun to breed and train the bulls in such a way that they know that this is what they're supposed to do? That they're supposed to buck you and then bounce?
That's the coolest part about it, explaining to, people that think animals are mistreated in what we do and everything. Those bulls, they're more important than we are in the game. Without the bulls, man, we wouldn't be anything. We wouldn't have jobs. So, and there's no training to them. They do what they want because they love it. You can't make a bull buck. That's the coolest thing to me, is that those animals, they love what they do, and if they didn't want to buck, they just wouldn't leave the chute. So the breeding has changed in that way that, back in the day, they just kind of, threw cows and bulls in together, and what came. Today, the genetics behind it are ridiculous. They know that this cow with this bull is going to produce a bucking bull. This cow with that bull won't produce anything. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy to me. Just everything that goes into breeding those animals. It's just not kicking out a bull with some cows. It's, I mean, paperwork and all sorts of stuff to figure out what's going to get your best stuff.
What was your worst experience in terms of your own injuries?
Yeah, I'd have to say probably 2020, March of 2020. You know, I made a great ride on this bull. I actually won the short round of the event and ended up second. And I had a great ride and got off, and just the biggest freak deal ever. I'm coming off, and this bull's bucking so hard, he kicks over top of me, and my spur catches the flank rope that's around them. It's pretty much like them wearing a belt they think they can kick that thing off. My spur catches it, and I was going to land on my feet, stuck my left foot out to catch myself. Well, he slammed me in the ground, and it was still stuck. Well, it ripped me pretty much in two, and from that, it tore my hamstring ligaments, tendons, muscles off the hip bone, cut them in half, halfway down, split my pelvis in two. It pretty much ripped me in two without actually ripping me in two. And it was a process. You know, it's almost 2 years now, and I'm finally healthy from that injury.
What did it feel? Did you black out? What did that feel like? Did you hurt
my
everywhere?
Adrenaline was going so much. No, my adrenaline was going so much. Craziest thing, I actually used that leg that it did that to push myself up and walk out. But the sports med guys got to me, and as I'm walking out, they get to me, and I'm like, I can go. I can walk out of the arena. Well, then about 3 more steps, my leg just turned into a noodle. And I said, guys, you're going to have to pick me up. My leg, it's not working. I can't feel it. And
what happened from there? Did they take you
cut
to the hospital, and then you realized that you were a box of jacks?
Yeah, our doctor checked me out back in the room and pretty much just said, like, it looks pretty bad. Your hamstring is pretty much gone. And crazy to me too that it cut my nerves. Like it ripped my nerves in two, ripped them off. Just I had no feeling really. So after about 10 minutes of that, I had no pain whatsoever. They put me in a straight leg brace and sent me home. And next met up with our doctor, MRI'd and X-rayed everything. And then this is where he really scared me. He comes in his office each time you see him. He has a little computer and he sets it down. He usually looks at it, kind of rubs his chin, takes about 5-10 seconds and tells you well, this time he took about a minute and didn't say anything. And I was like, son of a bitch, this ain't good. And he looked at me and he said, it's bad. And I was scared to death. I said, well, how bad? I said, well, if I can't find someone to fix it, because I don't know anyone right now, you'll never ride bulls again.
He legitimately told you your career might be over.
Yeah, he said
what is it like hearing those words at 23?
No, I was 22 at that time too. Yeah, and that it hit me like a damn train. I started crying a little bit, honestly, just at 22 years old. Yeah, I've had a great career up to that point, but I didn't want to be done by any means. And to hear those words that he says he doesn't know anyone in the world at this point in time, he's going to have to go searching for someone to fix it. That if he can't find that person, I'm done. That was a hard pill to swallow for that time.
Who fixed it, and what was the process of rehabilitating your leg and pelvis and all the other shit that was broke?
It took him a week, and he found this doctor up in New York City. His name's Dr. Youre. And I flew up to that guy and got the surgery. I was a 45-degree angle knee brace and a brace that went around my groin and hip and came up to my chest. to keep me from, leaning forward or doing anything to adhere that healing process of the surgery. I was stuck in those 2 braces for 6 weeks and pretty much bedridden. Didn't want me getting up for nothing but going to the bathroom. And after the braces came off, and they said, yeah, you're probably going to have to learn to walk again. You pretty much got a new leg. And I thought, shit, it's walking. Like, all you got to do is just put your foot in front of you and step on it. I shit you not. I bet it took me a month and a half to learn how to walk again correctly. It was, I would wish that upon no one.
How aware are you that you're an alien? Every one of you boys are lunatics. You are certifiable lunatics, and you could be put in a white jacket and sent on down the river because you're crazy as hell. But I know it's your passion and your life and your life's work, and dreams are coming true and all that. But for mortals like us on the outside, who, if I get a paper cut, I'm like, damn, that paper cut hurts. I don't like that paper cut at all. You're talking about like learning to walk again because you've destroyed your pelvis and ripped your hamstring in half. That's not normal, Jess. Y'all aren't normal. How aware are you guys that you're wired different than the average bear?
We really aren't aware a whole lot, but in the last couple of years, a lot since that injury, there's points in time where I kind of got to think of stuff that, the normal person don't got to go through this, but we consider ourselves lucky because, not many people can ride bulls and ride bulls for a living. So we get to do something that, a very small percentage of people may ever get to do or do at the time right now. We consider ourselves lucky just where the sport is, and that we can make a living doing something we love to do and have wanted to do and don't have to work a 9 to 5. So we just take the pain with it.
What goes through your mind the next time you got back on a bull for the first time after that injury? What's in your mind before that?
Not gonna lie, I was pretty damn nervous because I met with the doctor, and he checked me out, to release me to ride. And he said, man, everything healed great, looks great. All you can do is give it a try now. I said, well, what do you mean? I'm healed up. I should be able to ride and be fine, right? It's like, yeah, it was a big surgery and everything. So, it may work and it may not. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, well, it's very possible that first jump, your hamstring may just explode again. Like, it may just tear all off. It's a new hamstring. It's not conditioned to ride bulls necessarily now. So I was thinking, holy shit, this son of a bitch just said that if I nod my head, first jump, my leg may just fucking explode. So I have some of my own bulls, and I rode at my house. I have an indoor arena and some bucking chutes and everything. So I honestly picked the easiest bull I have on the place because I was like, if something goes wrong, I'm not going to get on something that's going to hand me my ass if, my leg's just done for. But it held up, and I think I was more nervous for that ride than I was for a ride that was going to clinch me a world title one of those 2 years.
What comes with winning those world titles that you don't expect?
Shoot, the first year, I honestly didn't do very good with it. The following year was just everyone, wanting to talk to me, like media-wise, having obligations with that, people pinning me as a world champion when, I spend 99% of my time at home and around people I've known my whole life that they didn't treat me any differently. They congratulated me, of course, but I'm just the same old Jess they seen grow up. And then somewhere for PBR or some media work, and they blow it out the roof that I'm a young world champion. I've done this and that. And I've been good. I believe, anyways. My parents have taught me from a young age that, as good as you ever do, you're no different. You're still the same kid. Don't let it get to your head. You're just the same old guy you were growing up. So that was pretty hard to get used to, with people kind of, getting stars in their eyes with me doing stuff or anything like that.
What'd you buy with your first big winning? What was one of the things that you're like, you know what, I'm going to splurge a little and, take care of myself with my winnings?
Yeah. This describes my life perfectly as a ranch kid. So my rookie year, I had great winnings, and it wasn't until the first event of my second year in the PBR, 2017. Our first event is New York City, Madison Square Garden, and we call it a major. It's more points and more money than your average PBR, and I won it, and I won $117,000 as a 19-year-old kid. And first thing I said and first thing I bought was, I think it was 15 head of mama for the home ranch for myself on the place. And I said in an interview, I think maybe it was when I won it and they gave me the check and everything. And I said, they asked, what's this mean to you? And I said, this means a lot, because it means I can buy a hell of a lot of cows.
No bling, no cars, no flossing. We're buying Angus, son. That's what we're buying. That's funny.
Absolutely.
So you're still so young, man. You're in your mid-20s at this point, barely. And you're already a two-time world champion. You've already beat the devil, torn your leg apart and your back. What do your dreams look like as you forecast the future?
My plan from day one, even when, I won that event and have done what I have in my career, it's always at the end of it all. I'd like to still be involved in sport, maybe commentate on the broadcast and everything like that. But my main thing is, when I retire and all that's gone, is I'm going to work on the home ranch for the rest of my life with my mom, dad, brother, family. That's kind of our legacy, and it's never going to go away.
What's the health of PBR right now? Because it went from more of kind of a niche thing 10, 15 years ago to it exploded into the mainstream, and you guys all became household names. The Bulls became household names. We're watching it on network TV, the whole thing. It became a phenomenon in a way. Where is it right now, Jess?
It's at its peak to me. Just like you said, it's becoming more and more main. It's reaching levels of fans and everything that comes with that to a whole new level. What social media does for the world nowadays is absolutely insane. And the reach that PBR gets from that, we've had celebrities at events and all sorts of stuff like that, just because it's reaching those type of people now.
Who have you met as a result of your job and success that surprised you?
I was telling one of my friends about this last night, because we were watching a movie and she happened to be in it. When I won that event in 2017 in New York City, Shania Twain presented me the check, and I got a picture getting a hug from her. And I've got a picture that I always joke about with everyone. I'm holding this check, looking forward for a picture, and she's kind of looking at me. And I was just joking, get you someone that looks at you the way Shania looked at me.
Listen, I already thought you were a badass dude, but you just went to a whole other level, son. If you're sitting there hugging on Shania Twain, that's a whole different thing, boss.
I forgot about this, too, because my agent actually sent it to me. I think I got the pictures and messages. I'm just a ranch kid, so I don't know, but it's like the tabloid shit newspaper deals or whatever. You already know it's all just rumor BS. And there's a picture. I was on the front page in like one of the circle deals a picture of me and Shania, and it said, "Did Shania did Shania find a new man in the bull riding world or something?" I was like, "Holy hell, I made it." The bull riding don't matter to me. I made it on the front page of a L.A. newspaper with Shania Twain. That's big time there.
All right. I got another follow up here. All right. Where have you been recognized that it shocked you that you were recognized?
Man, that's a tough one.
Do y'all wear them hats everywhere?
Yeah, I wear my boots and hat every single day.
All right, so
one of my friends was actually just making fun of me yesterday. Don't wear shoes at all.
Why they making fun of you for? Why are they making fun of you for? You're a damn cowboy. Like, you're a real cowboy. You're not some guy who's following a trend. You're a damn cowboy.
Exactly. I'm a gosh damn cowboy. We ain't playing patty cake. Getting shit done.
You're amazing, dude. You're amazing. All right,
but
so
I just don't get out enough. I don't think that I'm pretty. Everyone kind of makes fun of me like I'm an old man because I don't get out in the public a whole lot. I stay at home and keep to myself. So I don't get in situations where really it'd be weird if people recognize me, shocked me, really.
I can tell you this, boss. By the time you get to my age, you're going to feel like a real old man since you've already torn your pelvis apart and your damn leg. You had to learn how to walk again at 24. Travis, you got something I can see you still.
Yeah, I've got one. So I know that you broke Heartbreak Kid's 38 streak. Do you have a bull right now that's kind of your rival that you either haven't stayed on or that you want to? Like, do you have a rivalry going with a certain bull?
You know, it's a great story because one of my best friends, we just consider him family at this point. He's like my older brother, and that's who place this is down here in Oklahoma. Jeremy Walker with Paradigm Bull Company. He's the feed hand, the flank man. He's the whole operation himself, and he owns a pile of PBR bulls. And he had the number 3 bull in the world this year. His name's Mezcal, and to me, that's the bull I'm going after. And he talks shit all the time about him, and we do bad living together, but great at the same time because these bulls are sitting right outside the door here. And he's like, "Why don't we just run him in right now and see if you can fucking stay on him before we even get to the season? Give you a little advantage." I said, "Fuck you." But it's just shit talk all day long with him. But
I'd get along well with you boys. I'd come down and drink a few beers and have a good time.
Yeah. Everyone doesn't really like the bull. He's a big bucking bull, got a lot of power. No one's rode him yet, and I like those kind. You know, the ones that everyone else kind of stays away from. I know I can be a pile of points on him if I ride him. And I've told Jeremy, I'm like, it may take me 3-4 times. You may buck me off, but I will ride that son of a bitch.
All right, we're going to let you hop on this. You and me are both Pitballs guys. We're both keepers of the flame. We're champions of the smoker. If you're cooking for all the boys, what's on the smoker?
That's got to be a Lockwood Ranch steak.
One of those 15 cattle you bought back in 2017 are sizzling out there on the Pitballs. I like it. I'm coming to your house.
Heck yeah, we'll grill up some good old steak from the place, and out in the middle of nowhere, Montana, sit down with a steak and a beer. Don't get much better than that.
I'll get my brand.
We'll have the irons ready.
Hey, brother, thank you so much for taking time for us. We appreciate you. We love your spirit and love what you do. I marvel at it. I guess Garth Brooks' representation of the rodeo is actually true. You guys inject that into your veins, and it just becomes a part of your DNA, and ain't a damn thing you can do about it. No matter how bad you get hurt, no matter what you got to lose in the process, it's all about them 8 seconds. And I'm grateful that you took a whole lot more than 8 seconds for us.
Absolutely. I sure appreciate you guys letting me be a part of this awesome show.
Wes, one of my biggest takeaways from that interview was the fact that Jess used his first paycheck for riding bulls for a living to buy 15 new cattle. What do you think about that, man?
That's commitment. That's
That is
commitment.
commitment
right
to
there.
your trade. It sure is. And he was, look, man, what I loved about him was his sense of humor. I don't understand. When I had the Marty Smith's America podcast for ESPN, I interviewed J.B. Mooney, who's probably the greatest bull rider that ever breathed. He lives right up the street from me. And their nonchalance about the fact that they're getting on these thousands of pounds beasts whose entire reason for being is stomping your face in, it's remarkable to me. They'll have broke ribs, broke hips, broke legs, and they're just like, yeah, it heals. I'm fine.
I'm still standing. I mean, it kind of sounds like
Kind of
racing.
like Elton John.
It sounds like racing. I mean, you know that somewhere along the way you're going to get some scrapes, but this seems a little bit more gnarly to me.
Well, especially today. I mean, another guy that I got to know a few years ago, back to Dale Jr., we used to do these, they were called Bud One Night Stand, where Budweiser threw these massive concerts. And before the concert, I would go up on stage and interview Dale Jr. with another Budweiser athlete. And one of those was Ross Coleman, who was also a bull riding lunatic. And they're just a different breed. By the way, don't try to drink with those guys. You'll lose. I don't care how good you are at drinking, you're going to lose. I tried to drink Bud Heavies with Dale Jr. and Ross Coleman in Seattle, Washington. No.
They're built different.
They built way different. And you're right, like racing, these guys go into turn one and they don't know if they're coming out of two or not. They don't know. They may not come out the other side. And that's part of the gladiatorial beauty of why people love it, because they're willing to do something we're not, and it's the exact same thing in bull riding. I appreciate the perspective. Thanks for coming on, Jess. I appreciate it so much, and I should have gotten Jess's best Pitballs recipe. Wesley is a connoisseur of smoked meat. You are a champion, bro.
I saw a meme the other day, and it was like one of those like where you're pressing a button. Someone's pressing a button, and there's two buttons, and under one button it says craft beers, and under the other button it says smoking meats. And the title of the meme is 30-year-old men choosing their personality trait. And
yep.
It hit me, man, and I've chosen mine. I have a big green egg. No disrespect to the Pitballs family.
Oh, no, it's all good, man. To each his own.
But I enjoy it. I did a buffalo chicken dip to watch the NFL action on Sunday, so that was fun.
Did we see that? I think we saw that on the Outsider Instagram.
Yeah, I
feed,
think Outsider ripped it from me.
That is at Outsider IG. Make sure to check us out there. And on Twitter, we're at Outsider, as much as I dislike Twitter. All right. I have a story about taking on a wild animal myself. All right?
All right.
So another one of my personal service agreements is with Academy Sports and Outdoors. I love that company. I love representing that company. And for the first 3 or 4 years that I was with Academy, we did these content pieces all over the country called Traditions, where we would go fishing in the Gulf for redfish down there at Port Eads at the end of the world. We'd go to hiking the Appalachian Trail. We went all over the place doing all these crazy outdoors excursions. Well, one of them, we met this couple. I don't know if they're still a couple, but I hope so because they were a wonderful couple. Texas A&M has a rodeo team, and they are really, really awesome. And two of them, a young lady and a young man, were going to the National Finals Rodeo for college. And normally, like Wyoming has a great team. You'd imagine these schools that would have great rodeo teams. Well, Texas A&M's is balling. So I went out there to do this piece on those guys at Texas A&M. And I loved my time with them. But during that time, they are showing me how they wrestle steer. And what they do is they are riding a horse, and you come up upon this steer, and you jump off the horse and headlock the steer, and you wrestle it to the ground all in one fell swoop. Well,
sounds easy when you put it that way.
Well, my guy Scott Smith, who runs the outdoors program for Academy, goes, you know what I'd love for you to do? Why don't you try to wrestle one? And I was like, I don't know if that's smart, man. I got kids. He has horns. I don't know if that's a great idea. And so ultimately, I was like, just give me a minute. Just give me. They weren't pressuring me by any stretch of the imagination, but they kept like needling me. They kept poking the bear. And so I finally decide, all right, I'm not in this deal. I'm not in this life to half-ass it. I'm in this life to stand in the loud pedal and go as hard as I can go every day. So I go, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to jump off a horse and do it, but I'll run out of the chute with the steer and headlock him and try to get him to the ground. So here we go. I'm in the chute with the steer, and they're like, get your hip into him. So I got my hip into him, his side, like in his neck area, and they're like, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom, the chute opens. And I'm like wrestling this wild animal, and I am wrenching on his neck, and I'm like, I got him down, and I'm on my back, and I am wrenching, and you're supposed to like turn them. And so I've got him turned, and I almost got him over, and with one flick of his head,
gone.
He was gone. And yeah. I'm telling y'all, that horn missed my eyeball. I mean, it was a very minuscule increment of measure that horn missed my eyeball. I only got one good eyeball as it is. What'd you say? What were you going to say?
It was a frog's hair. Missed you by a frog's hair.
It was a frog's hair. And I was so angry. After that, I mean, I flipped the bird at the camera and the whole thing. Oh, Lord, we got to hurry up, Wes. My MacBook is telling me that I'm about to run out of battery. That's crazy.
Yeah, you need that.
All right. Well, look, I appreciate you, brother. Thank all of you guys for listening, as always.
Yes, thank you.
We are so grateful to get to do this. Make sure that you check out all of our content on Outsider. Something we wanted to get to today was that 100-year-old woman, one of our most read stories of the week, Thelma Sutcliffe, was 115 years old. And she passed away peacefully. It was just time. Well, Thelma, 115 years is a good run. Imagine the stuff she saw in her life, dude. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean.
Thank you, Thelma.
115 years. My Granny Smith made it to 98 and a half, and I can't believe that she went from, living on a tobacco farm without heat, without running water, without, none of that, to iPhones. Crazy.
There's always something in those stories that they did every day that you would think is the worst possible thing you could do for yourself.
No doubt. Like
having a shot of whiskey, or I don't know what Thelma's
burning heaters, one off the next.
Yeah.
I mean.
That's the secret.
Well, thank y'all. We appreciate so much you taking the time. Please rate, review, and follow. If you feel led to subscribe, if that's even still a thing, do that too. Follow Wesley at, what's your deal?
Wes _ the letter N, the word ship. Wes
and Ship. Yep. Mine is Marty Smith ESPN, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Again, it's Outsider on Twitter, at Outsider IG on Instagram. Check us out. If you don't follow us on Facebook, do that. Check us out, man. Outsider.com. Thank you so much to our law enforcement officials working so hard to keep our community safe, our fire and rescue. Oh, holy cow, I forgot I have a whole story to share. I can't do it today. There's your little teaser. I have a police department fire and rescue story to share with y'all next week. Wes and Travis remind me.
That's a tease.
That's how good Dale Jr.'s party was on Saturday night. So there's a little tease. And thank you so much to the United States military. Your sacrifice is the reason we're free. And I'm so grateful for freedom every single day. Y'all be good. This is the Marty Smith Podcast at Outsider. We'll see you next time around.